Hello folks and welcome to the OceanState Cuisine, where in today's video we're going to be making one of my favorite sandwiches called a frittata. What is a frittata? Well, it's an Italian-based sandwich and it's fried in oil and also like in a skillet or frying pan. There was a restaurant back home called Carmine's. It was a sandwich shop and they made tons of these. They were excellent and it's very easy to do. So what's involved in a frittata? Well, it's egg, and instead of either using sausage or bacon, we normally use pepperoni. And something that really makes this thing taste awesome is potatoes. And then, of course, diced onion, and that's about it. So before we dive in, remember to like, subscribe. It all helps in supporting the channel. Now let's give a look to the ingredients used in today's recipe. Okay, so for the amount that I'm making, I got one roll that we see right in the front. This is a sub roll. Next to that, I got some hash browns. Now, when it comes to the potatoes, I highly recommend home fries for this. You want a larger chunk of potato to bite into, but this is all I had on hand. I will add the recipe at the end of this video and also in the description panel of today's video of how I make my diner style home fries. And then behind that, we got some uncured sliced pepperoni. I have 2 white eggs. It doesn't matter what kind of eggs you use. I have some onion, and then next to that, I have some American cheese. And then, of course, we'll be using some other spices as we go along in the video. But because the pepperoni has so much flavor to begin with, it's mainly just salt and pepper. Now the next thing I'm going to do here is process the onion. So I'm just going to use 2 fairly thick slices as we see right here. I'm going to remove the outside peel. I like some pretty nice meaty chunks of onions to bite into. Now in the meantime, we could be heating up our skillet or frying pan on a medium to a medium-low heat. You want it hot enough where it's going to have a fine sizzle, but yet not too rapid. Okay, now next I'm actually putting in my roll first because I like to brown the roll. And yes, I guess I was kind of rushing this because I didn't even wait for all the water to evaporate in the pan, but it's fine. I'm just heating up a roll, and then I'm going to add my frozen hash browns. Now again, I highly recommend using home fries. This still came out good. I still like biting into larger chunks of potato, and the flavor is just more dominant. The potato really adds a great flavor to the sandwich. And then I'm going to get some butter, and I'm going to put it off to the side and let it run down underneath the hash browns. And then I'm going to add some salt, and then some pepper. And then the thing to me that really makes hash browns, shredded hash browns like we see here, home fries, is onion powder. So I'm going to add some onion powder and then some paprika. And I like to cook this until it gets a nice golden brown, a crisp to it. It just adds more flavor. And now I'm just going to hit it with a little bit of olive oil to all help in the cooking process. And I also added some dried parsley to this. Now the olive oil, I didn't add tons of it, but I did actually add a little too much, and later on we're going to see that I did pour some of it out. But again, the olive oil is going to help it crisp up, turn brown, and all that good stuff. And then I'm going to turn over my roll. And then cook this all up until it gets nice and brown. A good way to tell when things like this, like hash browns, are ready to flip over is that the edges will start to look brown. And then once you slide the spatula underneath it, and I recommend using a really thin spatula for something like this, it should stay together as you're lifting, but you still want to support the whole piece. But again, in a sandwich like this, you're not serving it on a plate like you would for breakfast, so it doesn't really matter. So now, as we could see, I just flipped over the potatoes, and now I'm going to carry it on over to the basket and dump out some of that excess oil. I don't want it too greasy because we still haven't added the pepperoni yet, and we know pepperoni has a good amount of oils also once it starts to cook. But I also want to keep some of the oil in the pan because it adds flavor and it helps when it comes to sauteing the onions and everything else that we're going to be cooking. Plus it's olive oil. Olive oil is very healthy for you. So now in goes the onion. And then as always, if you watch my other recipes or my other videos, I always add some salt to my onions. It's called sweating the onion. And then also I'm going to hit it with some fresh ground black pepper. And now I'm just going to soften up the onions a bit, but I'm not going to kill them. I still want something to bite into. And then next I'm going to remove the shredded hash browns, because they got a nice brown color to them now and I don't want to burn them. And I placed them on a paper towel to catch some of that excess grease. And now next I'm going to add the sliced pepperoni. Now pepperoni you got to watch out for. It fries up really fast when it's thinly sliced like this. So you got to keep an eye on it. And basically all we're doing is just browning it just a bit, and we're mainly just heating it up. As we know, pepperoni's already cured, and it's eaten a lot of times just the way it is without even cooking it, like cheese and crackers and pepperoni. So the main reason why I brown up my pepperoni is to release some of the good oils, or I should say the good tasty oils that's trapped inside. And I cut mine in half, my slices. It just makes it easier to mix into the food and to actually eat. Gets more evenly spread out in something like this. Then I'm just stirring around the onions. And now I'm also going to flip over the pepperoni. Now, if you want to, you can use a fork also if you want to turn the pepperoni over that way. But I just decided to use the spatula. Okay, so now the pepperoni and the onions are pretty much cooked. And now we're going to start adding the eggs. And again, I'm using 2 eggs in today's recipe. And these are considered extra large. Sometimes I doubt it. So yes, many may call the egg the star of the show here. But to me, it's the potatoes. Well, it's actually everything. But before actually adding the egg, I'm going to put the hash browns back in to warm them up a bit and start mixing those also in the frittata. And again, in goes the first egg, and it doesn't matter if it breaks because we're going to be scrambling this up anyway. And then next is the second egg. And I do see that little piece of shell off to the right. That's optional. But you definitely do want to pick those out. I know there was another piece in there that kind of looked like a shell, but that's part of the egg whites. But it seems like I was determined to get it out of there, just to be on the safe side. Now next, we're just going to start mixing everything together and kind of scrambling it. It's more of a folding method in something like this more than scrambling. And we're just going to keep repeating this process right here until the eggs are fully cooked. Now we're almost ready to add this to the roll. Now, when I make it, it's totally up to you what you want to do. If you want to use cheese, I recommend either the sliced provolone cheese or American cheese. And for me, I like the cheese not melted in this. I like to just add the slices right to the roll and then put the filler on top of the cheese or whatever. And then just add the frittata to that. Again, the cheese is still going to melt from the heat of the frittata though. So after one last flip, I think that this is pretty much done. And then in goes my American cheese. I broke the piece in half, the slice in half, and I'm just doing it like this. And then next we just add the egg mixture to the roll. So looking at it, it looks more like an omelet than it does scrambled eggs, because I was rolling it, not scrambling it. Now that I added it to the roll, you could see on how much we actually got, because now I have enough to actually make a second sandwich later on. And that's only using 2 eggs, but again, we used all those onions, we used the pepperoni, and we also used the potatoes. Now let me tell you something, folks, the cheese really makes a big difference also. I don't put anything on this, I don't use ketchup, I don't use mayonnaise, I don't use anything. It's the cheese and the oils that's in the frittata that is what you want to call my condiment. And there we are. There's our sandwich all complete, served with some potato chips on the side. Served in a delicious Hoggie grilled roll. The great thing about this sandwich, you could serve it any time of the day. You could use it as breakfast, you could use it as lunch, dinner, and even a snack. So there's my version, folks, of making my sandwich frittata. I hope you found this enjoyable, and I wish that you would try to make it. If you do, leave a comment down below. And remember, if you want to know how to make my diner-style home fries, click on the video at the end screen of today's video. Go to the description panel in the bottom of this video. And until the next time, you folks have yourself a fantastic day. Thanks for watching the Ocean State Cuisine.